walking the serpentine path, following the footsteps of the ancestors, walking the serpentine path, making our way back home. Hey ya, hey, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey, hey ya, ho. Following the serpentine path. Life. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Serpentine Path podcast. My name is Claire Wadiasid. I'm your host, and today's episode is part of a mini series that I'm doing with the podcast all about birth control stories. So, some of you may already know I have an upcoming class series starting October 5th. It'll go the 12th and the 19th, and it's all about transitioning off of hormonal birth control and contraceptives, IUDs, all that good stuff, and then learning how to track your fertility using a method that I've been working with for the past, I guess, 4.5 years now of biointuitive fertility observation, and then working with plants and herbs for pregnancy prevention and conscious contraception. Now, with this project, I ended up sending out an open call to the women of my email list and the listeners of the podcast. And I just said, hey, if there are any women who want to come onto the show and share your own story, your own experience being on birth control, being on IUDs, I would really, really love to hold space for your story because I just had this intense knowing that this class is so much more about just the class itself. It really is this intense call of the collective womb consciousness to take awareness around all of the threads of hormonal birth control, IUDs, the medical model of like managing, I'm putting that in quotes, like managing a woman's fertility. And an amazing guest who reached out is Madeline Penn. She's been a listener of the podcast. She's read a lot of my work. We've been wanting to connect and co-weave in different ways. And she reached out immediately and was like, I am interested. And I was like, hell yeah, let's come onto the show. So, Madeline, thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be able to hold your story. Thank you for your
Mm.
vulnerability and your courage to speak on this.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so important. This work is so important. It's so much more important than just one person's story. And so your call for collective stories so that women can come back to their bodies, to their wombs, it's so important. It's part of my own personal mission. And when I saw this, I knew it was an immediate yes. I had to just say, I'm interested. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get into it. Please feel free to share any and all parts of your journey.
Mhm.
You got put on birth control initially, what your experiences was like while you were on it, what the call was to get off of it, and kind of what the transition has been like of getting off of it and like coming back home to yourself.
Mhm.
Whatever you want to speak to.
So I first went on birth control around, I don't know if I was 19 or 20. So, and I'm 30. So let's call it a decade ago. And it was my first relationship, like real relationship in college. My first like adult relationship, even though I say that it wasn't so adult looking back, but that's how I felt. And so feeling like an adult, I felt that it was the responsible thing to do to talk to my doctor about having sex. And this is just what I knew. Um, and I sought this out. No one told me this. I went to the doctor. So yeah, I went to the doctor for expert advice and I got put on some form of a birth control pill. I cannot remember what it was. Um, within, I don't even know, really short period of time, 1 to 2 weeks, I knew I needed to get off. My boobs grew like over a full size rapidly. I am already an emotional person, so I was just tripling down on my emotions, crying at the drop of a hat. I knew something was wrong. My body knew something was wrong. And I went back. We switched pills. I don't know from what to what. We switched pills, didn't do anything. I said, this needs to go. And we started looking at other options. And then I got put on either the Kylena or the Mirena IUD. I cannot remember. Um, this was trending at the time. It was like, oh, you get it put in and you don't have to think about anything. It's the best. I was kind of following the crowd. This is what my friend, a lot of my friends actually were into this. One of them was actually studying to be a doctor, is a doctor now, and it was being endorsed. So I was just kind of following the tide. Okay, I didn't like the pill, so let's go on this, whatever this is, this IUD. Again, I had no idea what I was getting into. I book an appointment to have the procedure done, not knowing anything, and wind up. She's like, you're going to feel a cramp. You're going to feel like 3 cramps. And these weren't cramps. Like, these were not cramps. I don't know what they were, but they were. I know what a cramp feels like. They were not cramps. And I wound up passing out, like fainting, eyes rolling back to the back of my head, fainting the first time we tried to get this in. So just seeing, it's so funny talking about this now, seeing just how my body rejected all these different forms of hormones. Like, oh my God. So it's not funny, but like, look, it's how many signals did I need? And make an appointment for the next day. They're like, we'll give you Valium, a double dose of, like, they doubled my dose of Valium. I sat, and the procedure was successful. Um, I remember thinking, thank God that's over. Now I don't have to worry about anything. I can have unprotected sex. We don't need to wear condoms. That was the thing. My boyfriend didn't want to wear a condom. So I was just like, great. I don't have to think about anything. And I'll flash forward, maybe 5 to 7 years later. Um, yeah. Eventually, like around maybe 6 years later, I started having really, really, really bad acne. And I'll just say within those 6 years, so a lot happened. Like, I'm flashing forward from the age of 20 to 26, 27 years old. And, so once I'm a freshman or a sophomore, I'm a sophomore in college, and then I'm a full blown woman in the work world. I'm in New York in the workforce, working in finance, completely not aligned with myself, but just doing what I thought I should or could or had to be doing, or this is what high achievers did. This is what my bubble did. Um, and I had something to prove. So there I was. I was really not connected with my body at all. I was really not connected. My life was completely out of alignment. I remember just being on weekends, like literally crash. It was like I was on a drug the whole week, and then the weekends I would just crash and sleep. Like, my lifestyle was so unhealthy. And I remember even being ridiculed about this with my coworkers, like, oh no, you have to be on the desk at like 6:30. I would get in at 7:10, It was so, and I get glaring looks. It's like I knew I needed things. I knew I needed sleep. I didn't want to be out really late, eating and drinking really late every single night to wake up at 5 a.m. the next morning every single day. Like, I knew my life was so out of alignment, and I knew that I couldn't be living this life for the rest of my life. Like, I would crash and burn. It's kind of what I did. Um, I quit finance it was a long time coming, but it seemed like on a whim, but it was a long time coming because I knew I couldn't live that way anymore. And I just took the money that I had saved and invested in myself. And I moved around the world and lived in closer to nature. And I slowed down. And for the first time in my life, like, I didn't have a plan and I didn't have an agenda. I just knew I needed to heal a lot. I needed to heal a lot in every aspect of my life: physical, spiritual, emotional, the whole, everything. Um, in that time, I meet a guy. I remember thinking, like, seeing him playing volleyball and thinking that he smelled so good. Even his sweat smelled so good to me. I was like, whoa, I'm so attracted to this person. This is crazy. If I can, like his sweat, wow, I must really be in love. And we wind up dating. Fast forward, I want to say like not even a full year, 6 to 9 months later. At some point, 6 to 9 months later, after meeting him, I was, I got a huge feeling that this metal or brass or whatever, I don't even know what material it is, not natural material, was inside my body. And at this point, it had been inside my body for like 7.5 years, or maybe not. I got it out at 7.5 years, 6.5 to 7 years. So I didn't even like pay attention to this metal or brass or industrial material. I did not pay attention to it at some point during that relationship as I was continuing to learn and unlearn about myself, my body, and just everything. um, I it truly one day might have woken up and been like, why is there this piece of non-natural material inside my body, and what is it doing that's preventing me from having a normal period? I remembered, maybe this was triggered the aha moment, that you don't actually get your period or bleed normally on the IUD. I was like, so what have I been doing? And then I also heard, please verify because I'm not a scientist, but that the state that these hormones keep you in, it's some state where like your brain is tricking your womb that you are already pregnant or something like that, or it's the other way around. I don't know. Like your body is basically tricking itself into being pregnant, which is why, I don't know. I was finding this stuff out and I was like, so what is going on in my body if it's not doing what it's naturally supposed to do? And I made the decision to get this thing out. I was like, I don't know what this is, and I don't know what is being infused into my body right now, but I don't want it anymore. And on top of that, I was also struggling as much health and consciousness and all the stuff, all the things that I was doing. I still struggled with hormonal acne, like really bad. And I couldn't find, like, I did all the things, cutting out everything I was supposed to cut out. I wasn't really stressed, and I couldn't find like the root. Of course, it links back to, there's an emotional root, which links back to anger, authenticity, not showing yourself. Like that's the more metaphysical, spiritual. But from a physiological perspective, I really felt like I had tried everything. And I was like, I actually did ask my gynecologist. She said that this could be contributing. Like, you shouldn't be having acne like this at 27 years old, 26 and a half, 27. Like, this should not be happening. So, anyway, I made the decision to get it out. Immediately, I feel relief. My psychic abilities, not necessarily future casting, just highly, highly, highly intuitive abilities come online. Like, whole other podcast about that. Just too many things that I couldn't make up. And I was like, this is crazy. And on top of that, and it had to do with this boy that I was dating, this man, like I knew things that no one had ever told me. Like I basically caught him lying several times. Um, and I felt like immediately, almost as I got this thing out, I had this wave of clarity about certain things happening, which he confirmed. So I was like, okay, so my intuition's coming online. And then on top of that, I'm losing attraction. Now, I don't know if I'm losing attraction because I caught him in lies or the relationship was ending or whatever. Like, there's a million reasons why we lose attraction to people who we were once attracted to. We just outgrow each other. But I also want to say that I really believe that the birth control and coming off of it played a huge role, because I attribute that period with returning to me even more in a higher level, in a constant, if we're constantly upgrading. There was a jump for me and my intuition, and just my body was also rejecting him, just like my body had rejected birth control in the pill form, and it had rejected birth control in the IUD form. And yeah, a lot has happened since, but the biggest thing that I wish I knew um, was that we have seasons, women have seasons, and that's such like an obvious statement now. I feel like dumb that I didn't know it, but we really, and the IUD or whatever, it kept me consistent, right? It kept those ebbs and those flows very muted. And I need to ebb and flow. I need to ebb and flow. Like that's part of my creative process. That's part of my femininity, my womanhood, why I'm here, part of my superpower, like my feelings work. Like I need to go up and down. And I don't think I was allowing, I know for a fact whatever contraption wasn't physically allowing me, but I needed to allow myself permission to ebb and flow and grieve and cry and be sad and also have my wildly creative, you know, productive spurts and not always just try to be kind of muted, productive every day without the truth. Um, so that was a lot. That's the long short of my birth control story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, just holding you in my heart because I went through so many similar phases in my journey. I want to just kind of reflect back on some things you spoke to. The first thing of like, you were doing the responsible thing, right? That's what we're taught as women is the responsible thing. If I'm going to be an adult woman who's going to be having sex with a man, and I don't want to get pregnant, I'm going to be responsible and I'm going to go on birth control.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say to that, when I think back to my younger self, I wrote something about this in a recent essay. When I think back to my younger self, the choice to be responsible and go on birth control and get IUDs put in was actually me thinking not as my maiden self, I was actually really thinking as my mother self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was really thinking, I know I'm not spiritually or materially ready to step into motherhood. So I'm honoring that sacred no. And I'm also honoring the lives of my potential children by being like, I'm not going to call you forth right now because I'm not ready. And
Mm-hmm.
you deserve a mother who's ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other part of it that you spoke to, which is like men not wanting to use condoms, right? I get that. I don't like using condoms either. It doesn't feel as good. That's just the reality of things. The other reality is that both young men and young women are not taught that you actually have a short fertile window where you can actually get pregnant, right? Like ovulation is one event that happens 12 to 24 hours, one day in your cycle, and you have cervical mucus within like 3 to 5, maybe 6 days that can keep that sperm alive in your body to how to say, to engender conception and then lead to implantation and then lead to pregnancy. And so, to be fully honest with my listeners, I've been off of my copper IUD for 4.5 years now. When I was in my serious relationship with my ex-partner, who I did think was going to be the father of my children, we did not use condoms the entire time. I never once had a pregnancy scare because I know my fertility.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, it's like the whole conversation around condoms, there is a big boundary violation there of men being like, well, I just don't want to use a condom. And it's like, well, maybe if you don't want to use a condom, like learn about women's fertility and like track your woman's cycle with her and be on it. But then as a woman, we're totally shut off to being like, whoa, you don't sound like a safe person for me to be having sex with.
Yeah, this is all about you. Oh, so this is all about you and your pleasure. Okay. So I'm going to go put myself through a bunch of mental health issues and bodily changes so you can feel pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to respond to when you were talking about, there's like this big misconception that birth control tricks us into thinking that we're pregnant. And I thought that that was true for a long time because that is what I had heard. The actual truth of what is going on is that the female body is so wildly intelligent. There's no way that we could like trick it into thinking we're pregnant. What it actually does is it completely halts our menstrual cycle. We don't get a menstrual cycle. We do
Mhm.
not ovulate. We do not get an actual bleed. We're getting a hormonal withdrawal bleed when we take the like sugar pills of the last week of the birth control. So it's a hormonal withdrawal bleed. That's why it's like very light and like so regular and
Mhm.
never changes, right? What's actually happening with our hormones when we are on hormonal birth control is that our hormonal levels are actually more similar to that of a postmenopausal woman. And postmenopausal women are not in their fertile childbearing years. They're in their own incredible, wise elder grandmother matriarch years. Like they have immense spiritual power, but they've been through their like 30 years of fertile, abundant, hormonal matrix world, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So women on birth control, on hormonal birth control, are actually expressing their hormones in the way that a postmenopausal woman would be.
Wow.
Crazy. What you were speaking to about like you got the IUD taken out and immediately your psychic gifts were back, right? There's two parts to that. One, there's the hormonal adjustment, which just severs a woman. Like if you don't get a menstrual cycle, your menstrual cycle is the compass. It is the orienter. It is the portal of life. It is quite literally quantum. It calls bloodlines into being. It calls timelines. It calls realities into being, both when we birth children into the world, but when we birth projects into the world, we're doing that all through our womb. So if you have a block there, hormonally with the IUDs or with a copper IUD, like your life force energy is just stagnated. And so you can't be tapping into your intuition, into your psychic gifts, into the medicine of womanhood that we carry. But then on the other level, you're in a state of constant inflammation. Like it's literally your body like fighting against itself and you're fighting your feminine nature. And so when you were speaking to like the life that you were living while you were on birth control, living in New York City, working in finance, just like totally out of alignment with your soul's highest calling more than anything, which is inherently interwoven with your medicine as a woman. All of that, then going off of it and being like, holy shit, like none of this works because your womb is no longer a war zone. Your womb is what it is meant to be, which is a sacred space for life to be conceived, to be gestated, to be birthed into the world and then nourished. Not just the life of a child, but the life of all of your creative capacity, right? And then, the last thing that you were speaking to kind of at the end, like I often think about my birth control experience. It felt like you kept saying like muting, like there was like a muting
Hmm.
world. And that's exactly how I felt. I remember I got off of hormonal birth control pills when I was 20, and I did the same thing. I had like a big spiritual awakening where I had my first vision. This was in the middle of a university class, right? Like I was not on psychedelics, I was not in any kind of trance state. I was literally in like what was it called? Like a complementary and alternative mental health studies class in a lecture hall, had this insane, psychic vision. And maybe within 2 months, I was like, I'm done with birth control. Boom. And my life came back in color. It's like in The Wizard of Oz, where you see her in like her Kansas life and it's like black and white. And then she steps into Oz and it's like life in color. Like that's how I felt.
Hmm. Hmm. Amen. Thank you so much for all of that. And yeah, I mean, I could respond to each and every point that you responded to for me, I could respond to for you. Thank you. Um, I think something that I didn't touch on that you touched on that I want to re-echo because it's so important is it's beyond, you're right, just the condom usage. And I think this this goes hand in hand with living your life in color. Um, our seasons and our fertility tracking, understanding how we are different each and every day, as you said, and understanding our bodily cues, like such as cervical mucus, even our moods. Um, I know that when I need more sleep, I'm headed getting into my luteal phase, into my bleed, just like my energy levels. I think all of that has contributed to the color of my life. Like, oh my God, it's not just like pop a pill or have this thing so you don't think about it. I think part of the color is being like, whoa, okay, I'm off. Like I was in my follicular and like I had like an on week, I guess. And so I could run on the treadmill, and I'm not really a runner, but like I had this like superwoman energy to run on the treadmill, and I felt like three different articles wanting to be written, and I felt like more fiery, like I could debate someone in a respectful way, but like I felt like I had energy to engage versus when I'm winding down or more in yin, I'm just like, I'm just gonna not dissociate, but I'm gonna protect my energy and cocoon a little bit. And I think just having that body awareness, spiritual awareness, like having this color of it gets to be a full cycle and like like every season, and feeling into those, even changing what you eat per cycle, hunger levels going up and down, caffeine intake. I don't know. Every body is different. Literally every body is different. But just it's been such a beautiful, interesting, enlightening. Even just now, you providing more supplemental information about what it actually is. It's not the brain tricking the body. Just it's been a constant learning experience about my body and about my womb and about me. And it's so interesting going back to, you said the word inflammation. I don't know if I said that word, but you said it. And that's exactly how I felt. Like, as you said, the war zone, the womb is like a war zone. But I didn't realize it. And I mentioned I was struggling with the hormonal acne and nothing could fix it. And when I had looked into the metaphysical meaning, it was like wearing a mask. So lack of authenticity, not living in truth, not living in alignment. And it was also like little balls of anger, little balls of inflammation. That's what it was. My body was straight up inflamed and I didn't know. So I think it was almost like it's like I was puffed up the whole time and my fists were clenched. This is like how I felt. And when I got off, it was like, and then as you said, just all these things coming, like the download, like why all of a sudden could I put X, Y, and Z together like this? Or I would think about things that I never thought about before. It was like the fog was being wiped from my lenses on life. So yeah, thank you for all of that. It it inspired me to share more. So thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think that that's such an important point to kind of wrap things up on, which is that, when we're talking about going off of hormonal birth control, there's a lot of fear that can come up, right? Or an IUD of like, I know in my heart, in my spirit, in my body, in my soul that this is not working for me. And also, I know that I'm not ready to become a mother. I don't want to get pregnant, maybe not ever, definitely not right now. And that overwhelming fear of like, well, what do I do?
Hmm.
What I would love to offer to women is what you were just speaking to, which is like, this actually can be a life bringing process, not just the life of a child, like bringing you back into alignment with life, with like creativity and vibrancy and color and like movement and dancing and joy and like the whole expression of what it is to be a woman, the rage, the guilt, the shame, the fear, like every part of you is allowed to be here. Learn how to go through all the phases of your menstrual cycle, which is like what the second class in the series is pretty much all about, just like understanding your cycle through biointuitive practices. I'm not going deep into fertility awareness method. There's so many fertility awareness method teachers that I can point people to. It's not how I personally have come into relationship with my cycle. And it's learning those things of just kind of like, what is my body telling me and how do I trust it and how do I come back home to my innate intuition and knowing, not just in terms of like how to prevent pregnancy, but in terms of like how to be back in right alignment with the medicine of womanhood that I carry within me. And so, yes, the class is about like how to transition off of hormonal birth controls, how to track your cycle, mostly to prevent pregnancy. But the overarching theme of it is like, how do I reclaim my womb sovereignty? How do I come back into really strong alignment with my inner compass that's going to guide my life and that is going to help me step into my most fertile and my most vibrant self? It has almost nothing actually to do with like pregnancy. Like it has so much more to do with who you get to show up in the world as, right? Like it's
Hmm.
that level of deep transformation that we do. And in doing that, we also get to help heal all the women that we're connected to, all of the women in our bloodlines, all the women in our communities who are like going to be watching us go through this transformation and be like, holy shit, why is she doing so well? You know?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, yes. It's so funny. People thought I mean, they still might think I'm a little whatever, crazy, who cares? But they're like, what happened to her? Several of my friends are having pregnancy problems, just like fertility issues, just there even menstrual cycle problems, just womb problems. I don't know what to call it, but like womb deficiencies and misalignments. And I really think it's because I mean, I took this time to learn for myself because I had to. I like couldn't move on with my life. But because this womb education is not front and center on with for society today, we just think we go live our everyday lives and then we're going to have the easiest time getting pregnant and the easiest time having a baby, even if we didn't have a normal menstrual cycle. In fact, we might not even know our menstrual cycle because we've been on the pill or on the IUD for so many years. Then we get off and we think we can just get like really. I forgot to say too, I get so happy when I get my period every month because I'm like, this is my, that book by Lisa Hendrickson Jack, The Fifth Vital Sign. I love that book. This is my vital sign. This is my biomarker telling me every single month that I'm healthy and that I'm healthy enough to be a mother if I so choose. And that's the empowering part. It's like, okay, like when we say reclaim your power and take your power back, maybe actually just remember. Like there's nothing really that's just like, oh, I'm remembering my power. I'm remembering that my body works. I'm remembering how I'm supposed to feel. And it feels beautiful because I know that hopefully, I hope, but I have a good feeling that if and when I choose to procreate, that I pray and I think it will be a smooth ride because I've spent all this time learning and attuning to my womb. And I see, unfortunately, too many people who are close to me who aren't attuned to their even menstrual cycle. And, they don't have a regular cycle. And sometimes they're even put on birth control to regulate their cycle. And yeah, it's just this whole, and unfortunately, I'm at the age where it's like, of course, I have some friends who have beautiful babies and had beautiful pregnancies. So, of course, it's not like a one size fits all, but I'm seeing it more than I'd like to with women. And so hence, thank you again for birthing this project into existence, making this call so that we can amplify each other's voices, each other's stories, because we all have our own unique story, and at the same time, they're all each other's stories. Like we can see reflections and mirrors in one another. So I think it's so important what you're doing. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm so excited to hear the other women's stories, and I'm going to check out your class too.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Kind of touching on what you just said. I have a whole episode coming up on exactly what you were talking about the preconception portal, and especially the impact of what it means to be living in the time of birth control and then trying to get pregnant. So
Mhm.
that will be coming for listeners. Thank you so much, Madeline. This has been such a joy and a pleasure. And for anybody who is listening and who is feeling the call to join the class, we're starting October 5th. I will have the link in the show notes. It would be such a joy and a pleasure to have you. It's only $33 for the 3 live classes. Then you get lifetime access to all the recordings so you can go back and listen, and a really long, extensive resource guide to support you in your journey. So
Mm,
that will be in the show notes, and I would love to see you all in class.
I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.